from the 420 studio in Alameda, California. You are flying high over the zone with the Zig Zag Man. Here's your host, Ralph Tycho.
I am back, and you are flying high over the zone with me, the Zig Zag Man, in Alameda, California. We are right across the bay from San Francisco, where spring has sprung in mid-February, and I have a terrific guest. He's one of the fellow podcasters that I'm blessed to have on my Comfortably Zoned radio network, and he does a show called DERFCAST, and I'm honored. Fred Lazarus, welcome back to the microphones.
Ralph, God, I love the way you introduce me. It's so down-to-earth and truthful and ass-kissing, and I love you, man. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be on your show.
I've kissed a few asses in my life, and some days you just have to do that just to survive.
In all honesty, I love being associated with Comfortably Zoned Radio Network.
Yeah, thank you for being that. You add a little class to it, and
thanks.
Yeah, so I want my listening audience to get to know you, my network audience, basically, to get to know you a little bit as a person. Your main passion, I would have to guess, is kind of a cross between wrestling and baseball. The show is more wrestling than anything else, but not just what you would expect. You're not talking about, well, we got him in the hammerlock and it was the sleeper hold to Killer Kowalski. No, not that. You get to know a bunch of folks who are top-line entertainers, highly paid human beings in a sport/entertainment venue. Is it fixed? Is it this, that, or the other thing? It's not the point. No one's keeping score. It's not the Hall of Fame. It's not baseball statistics. The point is it's orchestrated. It's orchestrated for everybody to have a good time. One of the few sports like that. And don't ever misjudge. I raised a kid who is heavily into wrestling and following these people. I'm a baseball nut only, and he showed me some guys like that would do moves off the top of the thing, diving and right. That you go, holy shit, this is an athlete. And I've seen a lot of ball, seen a lot of basketball, seen a lot of hockey. Great athletes in basketball, great athletes in hockey. Just as great athletic-wise in wrestling. And wrestling. Wrestling.
Well,
I was thinking WWE as opposed to amateur wrestling. What have you.
Right. Well, basically, I'm going to start by saying what you're describing.
How'd you get into it?
Oh, okay. I'll go to that later. I have it written down to go back to that. How did I get into wrestling? Well, the wrestling you just described is wrestling nowadays. My podcast basically is about old school wrestling, which is what I got into when I was a wee little boy. Probably just learned how to ride a bicycle without training wheels. So that would be about 19, 21 years old. No, in all honesty, about 9 years. Okay, let's see, 7 years old. And I used to come home from Cub Scouts and watch roller derby with my mom because my mother loved the San Francisco Bay Bombers. And actually, she knew Joni Weston. Outside of the rink, of course, or ring, whatever. I forgot what the roller derby ring is called.
I think it's a ring. Yeah.
You fans of roller derby out there could send your hate mail to me because I've disrespected your sport. But in all honesty, we'd watch roller derby. But after roller derby, used to be professional wrestling. So my mom would leave the room, and I'd watch it. And the wrestlers back then were Pepper Gomez, Ray Stevens, The Rock's father, Rocky Johnson, and The Rock's grandfather, Peter Maivia, Ray Stevens, among others, and I'm sure I'm leaving some out.
Right.
And I'd really like it. And my mom loved it because for an hour she knew I was okay, you know, eating lunch and or whatever, and she wouldn't have to worry about me being outside. And one day, this wrestler named Dutch Savage, not to be confused with the Macho Man Randy Savage, but Dutch Savage from the Pacific Northwest was on TV. And my mom came in and just happened to glance at the TV and goes, "Who is that handsome man?" And I go, "Oh, well, that's Dutch Savage. He's going to fight Pat Patterson at the Cow Palace in 2 weeks, Mom." You know, and you know, I'm like milking it even back then at a young age, Ralph. And long story short, to answer your question, my mom took me to the Cow Palace. And back then, it was run by promoter Roy Shires under National Wrestling Alliance. And it was here for about, oh, God, his promotion was here from the early 60s all the way to the early middle 80s when it stopped. So to answer your question, that's how I got hooked. My mom started taking me every other month, and my dad would take me during the other month, along with all the neighborhood kids. And, you know, we just started like a club for us watching wrestling, and it's been watching it ever since, Ralph. And that's old school wrestling. You know.
Now,
Vince,
you recently experienced a real personal loss in your life, one of not only your fans, but you consider him to be a real fan.
Oh, yes.
That's
Roddy Piper passed, and
yeah.
How do I explain it? Basically, we all have heroes in our life. Whether it's female or male or a tree or a rock, we all have something in life that we really love.
Right.
I chose Roddy Piper because, how do I explain it to you, Ralph? I could just tell you the truth. I had run away from home. I was 14. I'm giving you the short version. And my mom tracked me down. I was probably like 4 blocks away at my friend's house. And she said, "If you don't come home, I'm going to tear up your Roddy Piper autographed picture that you have on the wall." And my mom was serious. You know, I didn't F with my mom. You know, I never crossed my mom. Running away was probably the worst thing I've ever did, you know. So I'll tie it up with this. People I was staying with, I came home within 45 minutes of that phone call. People I was with that night got in a really serious automobile accident, and I would have been in the back seat. So in my mind, Roddy Piper became my guardian angel. Should have been my mom, but it was Roddy. And I followed him ever since. And
he had a habit of not dying for your sins, so that made things a lot easier than a lot of religions.
Well, that's the truth, Ralph. It's all, it's all truth, and I followed him up until
everybody has. With me, it's baseball in the same way. I think if Willie Mays walked in the room, I'd probably fall over dead. You know.
Oh, I definitely know the feeling, and my father at the time took exception to me loving wrestling. And he worked for the News Call Bulletin and then the Chronicle here in San Francisco. And so he, on the weekends, when the Giants were in town, would take me to Candlestick Park to the press box while he did his job, and I'd sit in the press box. And, still, I worship Willie Mays and the Giants. I was still upset because I missed wrestling, And so when UHF channels came out, I discovered the TV Guide and what was called reruns. So I'd catch them on another channel. So I got the best of both worlds. I saw Willie Mays.
That's how you became creative in life. It starts out with meeting your needs early on.
Yes.
Yes,
it does. And my podcast basically is old school wrestling. Now, old school wrestling is wrestling before Vince McMahon came with the WWF and made it an in thing. And although Roddy wrestled for Vince on and off a long time, I have wrestlers on my podcast that wrestled before '86, and I've had a number of really good guests. The ones we were discussing off air: Rock, Mr. Wonderful Riddle, the original Mr. Wonderful. I've had Billy Anderson. I've had Vandell Drummond. I've had Johnny Mantell. I've had Irish Mickey Doyle, to name a few. And these are all, old school wrestlers, Ralph, guys that, now this was before the internet, before cell phones. They relied on road maps to get from one arena to another. They didn't know who they were wrestling until they showed up that night and the promoter had a chalkboard in each dressing room and this is who you wrestle, It was way different.
Right.
And I just...
You could be wrestling your friend or a real mortal enemy,
Right. Yeah. And I don't do the podcast for money or to get syndicated or anything, Ralph. I really want you to know and the listeners to know I do it out of love for the sport. And it's not just wrestling, but right now I started out with comics, such as yourself. I had you on one of the shows at a rival network, which, can we mention that or not mention it, or what is...
FCC Not So Free Radio.
Gotcha. Run by John, I'm an asshole Miller, but that's another story.
Oh, no, it's John Fucktard Miller. No.
That's where
you got it wrong, man. You got it wrong. Asshole, no.
So I had you on my show back then, and what happened was I made a friend on the internet. Excuse me. Oh, I am so wrong. I made a friend at FCC Free Radio, Bob, of Bob's Radio Cafeteria. He introduced me to an announcer from the old days at the Cow Palace, Alan Bolte. And this man worked for Roy Shires all up and down the coast in the immediate Bay Area, Eureka, and it just took off from there. Alan came on my show. He dropped a couple names and said, why don't you call these guys? And between that and Facebook, it became a wrestling show for now,
Right.
And like your show, Ralph, I know you do yours out of love. It's fun to do a podcast. It's entertaining.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I hope one of these days I could do mine as well as you do yours. I make a lot of mistakes, like, I finally learned to write everything down.
Fred. Don't be modest. First of all, you have the pipes for it, and your passion shows through. And you don't happen to be a sarcastic asshole like myself. That makes a big difference.
Well, I could be. No. Don't you?
Could be. You have it in you if you need it.
Oh,
to be,
you remember me from the
use
zoo days. You remember me from the zoo days, my battles against the Clique and, and being the male 5'4" version of Becky, I mean, I have it in me, but God bless you.
Sometimes it's 5'4", sometimes it's 5'6".
Yeah, I love you.
What's the real story?
5'5".
We talking 5'2"? Are you a fucking midge or what? No,
I love talking to you, Ralph, but and I'm so pleased and happy that you've asked me and my podcast, or my podcast and I, to be on.
It's going to be on the station, and it is. I'm going to announce to the world today on the show that we have a website. It's comfortablyzonedradio.com.
Oh, I'm going to plug that from now on, and yesterday's show I mind blanked. I couldn't get the name out, but that's because I'm excited, and it hasn't sunk in yet that my little podcast is now twice as big. How's that?
Absolutely, and but it is fun having you on the show, and I want you to we have several different shows that we're doing. You're doing your DERFCAST, Bob's doing his Bob's Radio Cafeteria.
Right.
I have a fellow podcaster now. He made his first podcast last week. His name is Sam Zervitz, and he is in and out of focus on our station. And I'm co-hosting and producing some baseball shows that I want you to be a part of.
Oh, I definitely love being on baseball.
Especially Bay Area Baseball one. Tim Haller, son of former Major League. Right, Tom Haller.
Yeah.
And you reminded me that Tom Haller was also the general manager of the Giants.
Yes.
I had Tim on the first time. I didn't realize that. He came back the other day. He decided he and I are going to co-host Bay Area Baseball. And,
that is great. Congratulations. That is, I have to
terrific.
call in and talk to him. That sounds like a great show. And I'm not kissing your butt. That
yeah,
sounds
well, you don't
great
have to
because
kiss my butt because I know what I have, and he grew up in the giant clubhouse.
Oh,
literally,
well,
as a
you
little
give yourself
kid.
some credit. You know, you worked for
And
a company
played minor
that,
league ball himself, and is inordinately articulate and very, very
great.
well spoken.
That's great. You know, but you got to stop and give yourself some credit. You worked for a company that when I was a little kid, I would give my right arm to work for. You worked for Topps Baseball Card Company.
I did.
You should mention that more. That's amazing. That must have been so cool. But you've gone through that on a show with me before, but I'm still in awe of that. It's little kids opening a pack of cards.
Mid '80s to the mid '90s, I was Topps rep, and I'd sign minor league players to contracts to obligate them to their using their picture on a baseball card when and if they made the major leagues, and it was cool jewel. The first guy I ever signed to make the Hall of Fame, and no doubt the last guy, because there aren't many that do. Ken Griffey Jr. Was 17 in Bellingham, Washington, when I signed him to his Topps contract, and we had to send the contract to his dad, Ken Griffey Sr., to sign for him so that he could have his picture on a Topps baseball card when the time came.
Amazing.
Cool.
Now he's in the Hall, and deservingly so, without any
and I'm an old
of
man
anything
in
illegal in
town.
his career.
You see how things go. All right, Freddie boy. Tell me your first time at a baseball game. We might have covered this before, but what was
Yes. Oh, my God. Cub Scout age, you know. Okay, my first time sitting in a seat I told you about. But my first time at a game was with my father up in the press box right next to Lon Simmons and Russ Hodges announcing. I mean, right, there was a glass partition, you know, and we were to the right of them. No, we were to their right, to our left. But that was the first time. But my first time was with Cub Scouts or my mom. I don't remember which. But all I remember, Ralph, is going up the stairs, you know, driving over to the Candlestick, going up the stairs, going through that, and opening the doors, going down to the lower reserve seats. And you open the doors, and you see the green of the field and the scoreboard, and it just hits you. This is the big time. This is it. This is real. The smell, the peanuts, back then the cigarettes, the sound of the ball hitting the bat for batting practice was my first real acknowledgement of being at a ballpark. And it's just something that...
Can you hear, ladies and gentlemen, the passion in this man's voice, why he is a superstar, rock star, podcaster?
God bless you. 'Cause it's true. I'm telling you the truth here.
I know. Well, that's
you.
what makes it. That's what makes you, and that's what makes all of we podcasters what we are. We all love what we do.
We don't always kiss each other's butts, but you know what? The passion that Ralph has for baseball, to hell with wrestling. The passion for baseball that Ralph has and I have is something that you never lose. You always have with you. Just the sound of the ball hitting a mitt, you know.
Just batting practice, getting there early and watching them toss around. And I remember going out to the stick when I first moved out here I was stationed out here. I didn't move, I was moved. They took me out here. And I was stationed at Travis Air Force Base, which was halfway between San Francisco and Sacramento, maybe 40, 50 miles from the stick. And I'd go out there, and two things that I remember. I remember Willie Mays taking infield practice.
Wow.
And he was a damn good shortstop and bat.
Wow. Now that's something to think to keep in your mind. Willie playing short.
Playing short. And he would have been as great a shortstop as anyone who ever lived if he can. But yet he was the greatest center fielder that ever lived. So
Right. Well, they didn't want him hurt in the infield. That's what I read once somewhere in my travels.
Well, that could be it.
Right. DeRocher.
And they also had Alvin Dark at shortstop, and
scrappy little guy.
He wasn't going to be moved out of there.
Right,
kind
of like the Bud Hill type.
Right. And the second thing I was talking about, Willie Mays, I remember, is the frigid cold at night at Candlestick. Colder than a witch dragging in the snow.
Oh,
very, very.
How about colder than a witch's tit? Okay, let's get.
Well, yes, that too. It is podcast, so we can say that. But we don't have to. Are we talking left tit or right tit, Fred?
Both.
Okay, well, I want to
Both.
see how vivid your imagination is. Okay.
Oh, it was so cold at Candlestick, and everybody knows the old. Oh, there's going to be heaters, and the seats will be heated, and right.
Never happened. The heaters never ever worked from day one.
Never. Well, it'd be funny now that Candlestick's gone. There's nothing there. It'd be funny if somebody put out the truth about that, if they were ever connected. I don't think they ever were. I don't think they ever worked, those heaters, ever.
No, they didn't.
It's funny, Ralph. I'd like to say I've come full circle because you asked a baseball question. I got hired at Pac Bell as of this week. I don't know what my duties will be, but it will be part-time, probably punching tickets or handing out bobbleheads, but I'll be an employee of the San Francisco Giants.
Wow. I'd like to say mazel tov to you.
Well,
That's terrific.
Thank you. Yeah, a friend of mine's been working there for 10 years, John Nixon, and he finally convinced me. I mean, he's been asking me for the last 4 years, come on in, I'll put in a good word for you. And finally, I decided, well, you know what? I could do that.
Are you going to join the union and everything?
That's going to take a while because you have to work 300 hours to get in on the union. And you're only allowed to work 4 hours a game, so you do the math. And, Ed, I'm only going to probably work weekdays and weeknight games to get 30 games. You have to work 30 a season. Because, I have my little pool business and pool cleaning business, and so it will work out fine. And, with our pitching staff this year, I think it's going to be between your Mets and us in the playoffs because, damn, the Mets and us really, our Giants really look good.
Hey, Fred, give me some insight here.
You got it. Go for it.
I heard you got a pool cleaning business. You work hand in hand with a pool dirtying business to go out there and dirty them up. Is that true? Do you guys work hand in hand?
Well, since this is a podcast and none of my customers know how to use the Internet, I think I'm safe to say that, yes, we do that to customers that don't pay us on time. Hell yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Tricks of the trade.
Things up a little bit. Okay. I was just
tricks of the trade.
It's like locksmiths that go out in the middle of the day and stick toothpicks in people's locks and wait for the
Well, not exactly that severe, but I've learned after, I think, 13 years of the business now to slow things up with the filter to where they need a new cartridge or a snow job here and there for some extra money each year. Yes, we do that. But I have good customers that I'd never do that to, though.
To fit in with the American capitalistic society that we live in. And I'm proud of you for doing it because
I love you, Ralph.
A long time ago,
so glad
you keep persisting, don't you? You're going to be a capitalist yet, young man. All right. So this gives you a little taste of Fred Lazarus. He runs a podcast show that I'm posting on my Comfortably Zoned radio network on a regular basis. And tune into him all the time and listen to him and tell your friends and neighbors and your fiends, tell your friends and your fiends as well that he exists and that we all exist. Spread the word out there.
Yes, we do.
And
can I tell people how to get on, get to the show too? Remember, we're on Facebook.
You just go to you go to comfortablyzoned.com and you look for DERFCAST and push the button, and his latest episode will be right on there. And
episode number 38.
I want you all to, Fred, I want to implore you, as I do on every episode, I implore the guests and the audience, both you guys out there who are listening, to keep your humor dry, keep your dreams wet, keep your children out of military recruiting offices, unless it's maybe the Coast Guard,
Oh, God bless you.
Because Fred's there. I'm an Air Force guy, Fred. I wouldn't put
you
my
never
kid
told
in
me
the
that.
Air Force recruiting thing if you had me tied up with a muzzle and a whip. The military is just not for you, kid.
I totally agree
had to
nowadays.
do it. Yeah, things
agree.
have changed. You don't want your kid to be fodder in a war that's only going on because of two things. We need oil or the control of oil. We don't even need the oil anymore. We just want to control other countries and the Christian missionaries who are going over there and trying to Christianize everybody and piss everybody off and make them hate us and stuff. And they're very good at it, I might say. You bomb them, you Christianize them, you bomb them. Pretty soon they hate us enough to put bombs in their underwear and blow themselves up.
Well, we now have to wait, 2 hours to fly to L.A. from San Francisco because of somebody putting a bomb in their shoe? They burned us big time.
Yeah. Absolutely. They burn. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
see,
terror. Go ahead.
Terror is mind control, which that's terroristic.
Oh yeah.
How they change the way we think, how they change the economy, how much money is invested in this terrorism control. You got every airport, you got cops in armor, you got militarization.
Well, look at the military presence for the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl security says it all.
Yeah, oh wow!
You must have had the F-15s
those people come
flying
out.
over
I saw a clip on Channel 2 where these kids, literally in kids' faces, it looks like they're playing games at home, combat games, right? And because it's in the middle, everybody's festive, and they're in the parking lot, and they lead these guys out like, where the fuck are we? They're playing the game in Beirut or what? This is America, for Christ's sake. And it's crazy, but the world is.
Times have changed,
so
brother,
let me keep
we're here.
on here. Wait a minute. I got to also implore everybody, because it's been in all the papers now, and it's kind of widespread. But here's a little secret for some of you know, is you got to start keeping your kids off the laps of clerics that wear dresses. A lot of them.
We've gone from professional wrestling to this.
97% of them get their jollies that way. And it's just plain and simple. That's what they're in biz for.
Well, hey, I'm Jewish, so I didn't have to worry about that.
Oh, no, you didn't have to worry. You just had to worry about a circumcision. That's not a worry.
We've covered every subject. Ralph, do you know that people could also go to iTunes, type in your network, type in DERFCAST or Bob's Radio Cafeteria or the other gentleman's show, and that's because of your diligence. I want to thank you for putting us on iTunes.
Well, we're on as a group under the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network.
Now, let me ask you this. Does the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network have a slogan? Maybe we should think
fuck you, Fred. That's the slogan. Fuck you, Fred, for asking.
Ralph, I loved you when I first met you at the Holy City Zoo, and I love you now, brother.
All right, my man. Don't ask any questions, and you won't get any rude answers, all right?
Well,
I can't answer everything. We don't even have a slogan, but I made one up.
Just when you get the answers, I'll change the questions. How about that, okay?
All right. Tune into Fred's show.
I'll change the question.
Tune it back. I've been outsourcing the technical problems that we've been having around here. I got an Arab gentleman in a Dixie cup is transmitting the show right now.
I'm out of here. The Dixie cup reference got me out. I'm gone. Ralph, I love you. Thanks, brother. We'll talk.
See you, Freddie boy.
You take care.
Over and out, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.